Just det.
Ja.
Yes. Hello everybody, this is the Wikstrand and now I'm here in Stockholm Rum Festival, and this is the 007 rum, which is pretty good considering what we're going to review today. We're going to review the 1967 You Only Live Twice. The sort of last Bond film with Sean Connery, and let's see if they hold to the things that they promised us on the movie poster. James Bond is going to become Japanese. James Bond is going to die. James Bond is going to get married. Let's see how my 550th review is going to pan out, considering now I'm going to leave to myself a few weeks ago being dressed in the most James Bondish gear up I've ever done. So let's go to my review of You Only Live Twice. What? So we have these American rockets, you know, with astronauts and everything, and it gets hijacked in outer space. It basically gets Pac-Man eaten by another spaceship that then vanishes out of thin air. And the Americans, they blame the Russians, but the Russians says they had nothing to do with it. So there is a severe risk that this international crisis will boil over and we have a third world war on our hands. Can we rely on, you know, James Bond to save us? But there is a small problem. James Bond is dead. He, you know, died while being assassinated after banging some broad in Hong Kong. But this is of course not, you know, an actual assassination of him. It was, you know, a fake assassination and a fake funeral, so that, you know, his enemies would think that he's dead and, you know, won't target him for a while. I don't know if that was the most efficient way of, you know, trying to make James Bond more of a secret agent. Roger Moore once said that James Bond is the most counterproductive secret agent of all time because, you know, walks around and introduces himself to everybody all the time. But the thing is that he's going to Japan because they, you know, have evidences that points out that maybe the rocket actually landed in Japan. So he goes there and tries to figure out what has happened and who is behind this. Who is behind this? It is of course SPECTRE who is behind this. Their plan is basically to have the United States and the Soviet Union to fight each other, and then they will be able to take over and, you know, introduce world dominations and, you know, all that stuff that SPECTRE is good at. And James Bond has to stop this. This is essentially our movie. This is the best James Bond film that Sean Connery ever took part in, and I will fight you if you dare. Try to fight a big bunny, eh? So the thing is that this is a fast-paced, very entertaining and kind of silly James Bond film, you know, with all the fantastic gadgets and all the humor and, you know, Blofeld's fantastic lair. We'll get to that in a second. And the, you know, the fantastic car chases in Tokyo and the helicopter fight, and especially when we get to that small Japanese island where Blofeld has the greatest villain lair of all time, filled with monorails and huge world maps and people in different forms of you know, jumpsuits and stuff like that. It is absolutely gorgeous. It is the most gorgeous Ken Adams production I've ever seen. It is so big and it is so epic that even Dr. Evil would say a bit much, mate. But the thing is that it is so great. It is so fast-paced and it is so epic, and it has the greatest James Bond song of all time. You only live twice. For some reason, I always start kind of crying almost when that, you know, song is playing, because there is something, you know, nostalgic and, you know, melancholy about it that I think is so fucking great. There is just one thing in this entire thing I do not like. And that is essentially the sequence when they come to this small island where, you know, Blofeld's base is located, and they have to pretend that James Bond is married to a Japanese woman, and they also have to present him as a Japanese poor fisherman. And this is essentially the Valmorification sequence from Team America World Police, where they are trying to make him look like a Japanese man. I will say this, I'm not going to go into a debate whether or not this is in poor taste or anything like that. I'm going to say, however, that how fucking boring this is. Even when I saw this movie as a kid, I thought, why are they doing this? He doesn't look remotely Japanese. He kind of looks like Sean Connery with a tan. So the entire sequence of, James Bond is pretending to be a poor Japanese fisherman is really boring, and I'm just waiting for them to, actually do something, blow some shit up or stuff like that, even though we got one of the arguably coolest assassination sequences I've ever seen in any movie from it. So fair trade, but I still think that wouldn't it have been easier just to make him into an American tourist that had gotten lost and would yell, I don't want to eat fish, where are my burgers, in some fake American accent or something like that. Anything, but I thought this was just so stupid. Well, thank God we have a fantastic finale with this one, because when all these ninjas invades Blofeld's lair, on rappelling ropes and stuff like that, and start fighting with all these people in green and orange and blue and red jumpsuits and stuff like that. It's so epic and it's so big, and I love Blofeld's lair so much. If it was an experience at some movie studio thing, I would walk around there for hours with the monorails and all the different levels and stuff like that. And the final things that happens there is so big and so epic that this is basically peak James Bond. It would take them approximately 10 years to make a movie that was better than this one. Actually, that's my favorite James Bond of all time, but that is a story for another time. So should you see this movie? Yes, absolutely. This is a very fun, this is a very entertaining, big and epic and spectacular James Bond film that doesn't take itself too serious, and you're just going to have to live with some of the most stupid things they do, aka the pretending that James Bond is a Japanese man thing, and just embrace how incredibly cool the rest of the movie is. It is a fantastic movie. I love this movie so much. And at the time, it felt like such a big thing when we actually got to see Blofeld's face for the first time. They had been teasing small bits of him, in a couple of movies before this, but this was the first time we got to see him, and it felt like a big thing. Almost like, revealing what Dr. Claw actually looked like. It was so cool, and the entirety of this movie is just so big and epic and fun and rambunctiously over the top that I just love it so much. This is one of my favorite James Bond films of all time. I gave You Only Live Twice 91 points. This is everything I love about the James Bond films and then some. And if you like the James Bond films but haven't seen this movie for some reason, do see it. You will not regret it because it is so much fun. It's a perfect swan song to, the Sean Connery era of James Bond, even though he would of course appear in Diamonds Are Forever that came out a few years after, but that's a story for another time. Oh my God. This fucking costume. Jesus Christ. Anyway, I'll see you next time from, well, so-and-so reviewing, well, such and such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.